I salute you all. It gives me pleasure when I get an opportunity to talk about Africa, and I feel so humbled to share my views about the various issues relating to governance and entrepreneurship, because these are the main pillars of sustainable development and global prosperity. A major part of my discussion focuses on Africa. Today, I'm going to briefly talk about Africa's debt crisis, how Africa ends up into debt, and how it can deal with this rising debt crisis. My name is Fellow Nathan Tambi from Fenlina Management Consultants, the main sponsors of this program on governance and entrepreneurship. If you enjoy this video, kindly support our channel by subscribing, giving the video a like, and giving your comments. You mean a lot to us, and we appreciate your time, participation, and contribution. Debt financing is pivotal to the success or failure of any organization. If not handled with extreme care, the liquidity of the organization is in jeopardy, and most of the plans will not come to fruition because everything needs money, and money comes partly from debt. We have a global ambition known as the Sustainable Development Goal Agenda 2030. We also have the African Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. We also have inhibitors such as calamities, wars, droughts, floods, hurricanes. All these require enormous sums of money, a significant portion of which can only be funded through borrowing. Then comes the creditworthiness that funding institutions depend on to extend or deny more debt. In any special circumstances, a sovereign state may need to take more debt to solve or cushion some of its debt, irrespective of whether it is creditworthy or not. Such a situation is undesirable but may be the only way of solving the problem. Many African countries are in debt distress because of a number of reasons. To mention few: financial irregularities, political instabilities and uncertainties, natural disasters, and the high cost of debt. Financial irregularities emanate from lack or no political will. For example, corrupt activities which divert project or program resources instead of fulfilling the required mandate, debt and interest being some of them. Political instabilities and uncertainties, internal and external aggression, invasion, and so on. All these contribute to debt distress. Natural disasters such as drought, floods, weather fluctuations, because they also require money and they come unnoticed. The combination of multiple crises such as climate change, COVID-19, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine have led many African countries to struggle with debt sustainability. Between 2010 and 2021, external debt servicing payments in Africa have more than quadrupled, growing at over 60 times the pace of average fiscal revenues. The crisis has led to calls for creditors to provide relief measures, but Africa's myriad of creditors makes this a challenge. Getting all relevant actors around the same table has proven very difficult. Private creditors have been reluctant to participate. Over half of service payments due in 2021 were made to private creditors. More than 1/4 were owed to private bondholders. Cost of debt is another problem. A predatory approach by financing institutions in making finance available to Africa is one of the major problems. A number of countries in debt distress source financing at higher interest rates and shorter repayment periods. In 2021, More than 1/3 of Africa's public external debt was owed to the private sector. Post 2008, private sector lenders made more credit available to Africa in order to obtain higher returns than the low rates on offer in the global north following the financial crisis. Private sector lenders, primarily motivated by financial considerations, lend at market rates considerably more expensive than the rates offered by official creditors. Many African governments, for their part, were keen to go for private credit, motivated by the desire to reduce dependence on aid or policy-conditioned loans from official creditors. The current funding model favors the richer countries because they are considered to be less risky, hence lower interest rates. They are even sometimes given longer repayment periods. They are also able to afford higher amounts of debt at less interest rates. They are not seriously affected by the size of the debt that a poorer country may experience. Default on debt can arise because of a lot of different reasons, most of which are not under the control of the affected entity or country. Situations like economic meltdown, climate changes, and many others. These are some of the solutions to Africa's debt dilemma: debt restructuring, risk assessment, seriousness about governance, and innovation. Under debt restructuring, you should consider stretching the tenor of the sovereign debt for a longer period. Make attempts to establish a level playing ground of the financial system, then mobilize financial resources, including the private sector. For calamities, special drawing rights can be used to deal with the urgent funding needs, like what happened during COVID-19. Special drawing rights to deal with urgent funding needs that derail the implementation of the development initiatives in Africa and all over the globe should be embarked on. Debt pause. Countries that are highly indebted should bargain for the postponement of the debt repayment partly or in full for an upgrade period. We can also go for concessional funding, and in this case, we source funding at lower interest rate than the market rates. Risk assessment. We need to tighten governance mechanisms that deal with or prevent financial irregularities. Because one of the reasons why African countries are regarded as more risky, one of them is the governance mechanisms that we have. We need to engage the credit rating agencies to do a proper assessment of Africa's risk before extending funding. We need to use the results of the credit rating agencies to have a fair and win-win financing mechanism. By this I mean other credit rating agencies, not only the ones that are regarded as the major credit rating agencies. We need to write off the portion of the debt that is in excess of that arising from the revised fair amount or a fair win-win interest rate. In this way, we are saying that if after all the adjustments, there is an interest amount which is above the agreed upon win-win interest rate, then that portion should be written off moving forward. We also need to correct all the wrongs and flaws of the past relating to risk assessment. Seriousness about governance. Africa needs political will by the respective countries to commit funds and implement the decisions